I'm Abe Harper with Harper Technologies, which is a concierge-level IT managed services and break-fix company located in Mobile, Alabama on Broad Street. We've been in business 15 years. I've lived here my entire life. I was born in Fairhope at Thomas Hospital, raised in Daphne, went to the School of Math and Science, graduated and left for 1 year, came back and started a company. I started on Dolphin Street in a small building that a friend of mine owned, rented for probably 7 years, and moved out of that building to the Eastern Shore when there was kind of a steep economic downturn in Mobile. There was a lot of loss in terms of revenue opportunities and business interest in the area. For me, it was kind of an easy thing to pick up and move over to the Eastern Shore and not look back, so to speak. You know, when we left Mobile and moved to the Eastern Shore, my thoughts were, I'm done. I'm not going back to Mobile. I have no interest in being in that market. It's dried up. That was the sentiment, and that was in 2010. My brother and I, since we share interest in the company, were looking at a way to grow our company, grow our workforce. So we bought in 2015 in downtown, and we finished the renovations. It would have been in November of 2016, but we had previously been in downtown Mobile as well. We picked downtown Mobile because we got a really good deal on a really awesome space that we could mold and make our own. You know, we were watching the market as well as it was kind of returning to a vibrance of life. You're starting to see new businesses come in, small and large. And for us, that kind of made the decision. It's, you know, we want to be where people are doing business. I think there's a neat dichotomy to what's created the movement, the motion, the momentum that we see in Mobile right now. One of those factors is great leadership. The downtown environment is the pulse of the city. Being able to deliberately focus and aggressively pursue it, that's where your revenue generation comes from. And ultimately it starts there and streams outward. It's not often that a residential market will carry a commercial market. It's always vice versa. The second is unwavering unity. When you get everyone doing the same thing for the same purpose at the same time, that's an unstoppable motion. When you've got a divisiveness among citizens, or you've got a sentiment where people are pulling opposite directions, there's no way that you can have forward motion. So right now what we've seen in Mobile is almost an unprecedented amount of unity. Everyone championing for the city at the same time for the same purpose, because they understand, you know, there are still some obstacles. We've cleared a lot of obstacles. We've seen a lot of growth, but there's still a lot more to go. So I think those two pieces of it make up the largest portion of why we are where we are. If we keep the pattern that we're on right now, which I'm banking on because I'm here, is that unprecedented growth. I think Mobile is going to become more of a final destination as opposed to a transient stop. That's the objective that everyone has been striving for over the past several years as it stands now. Instead of being a market where people pass through for revenue opportunities, people will land for a permanent placement. We can't talk about Mobile without talking about Baldwin County as well. You're talking a regional impact. When revenue comes to a dedicated region, it's going to stream out and find different ways to impact residential and commerce markets that are all connected, interconnected along those same lines. So I think what we're going to see is, if you watch it, it'll kind of be, Mobile will be the epicenter and the pulse of a commerce market that grows outward, and we'll start seeing people making this region their destination, making it a purposeful and intentional act to come here. And for those that are born and raised here, you'll see a lot less of that flight risk. You know, it's no secret that a lot of youth will grow up in this market, and the first thing they do when they are of age and are able to, they flee. They go for another market or they go somewhere else. I think we'll start seeing a lot of our homegrown talent sticking right here and reinvesting in the opportunities and future movement for Mobile. So one of the neat things about the IT world is, all of us geeks, or all of us nerds, or all of us computer people, as people say, we love to take something and make something that's really next to nothing and make something new out of it. That's kind of a neat persona when you think about how much of old infrastructure we've got that can be rejuvenated. We've got a lot of aging buildings in Mobile. That's been one of the mayor's biggest initiatives, is fighting blight. If you ask him that question, it's an open-ended conversation for an indefinite amount of time, because he's passionate about it. I believe as long as the availability of property is there and the availability of market opportunities exist, you'll always see someone stepping out, taking that, and then trying to push it into a new life. I think Mobile desperately needs that, because the computer professional technical markets are very much embedded with large amounts of cash flow, and they're largely not asset driven. So what you've got is a service offering that brings in tons of cash and brings in tons of clientele and more market opportunities without the overhead of the lost revenue on transportation or different logistics in that sense. So having it into a compact corridor allows for those businesses to interact with one another and then stem their services out to the rest of the city and the region. The downtown environment has become much more aggressive in pursuing law enforcement at events. And in the same sense, we've gotten a larger market that is dedicated to being in those events and walking in the door and feeling like they're able to go there without disturbance. I don't know that there was ever a time for me that I felt inherently unsafe as much as that I feel safer now because it's more visible. We had an incident in our office maybe 5 weeks ago. And obviously we have surveillance cameras, but we had an incident where someone threw a rock through the window. And I called local law enforcement. They showed up in a matter of 15 minutes. Now this is a midday complaint, and I didn't know what their workload was like, but I did, I told them, I said, it's low priority. I've got video. It wasn't a great video, but the guy was, you could make out his shape. And I have to say, we've got some really impressive LEO officers. These guys are out looking and studying how to become the next best official that they can become, and they're doing it intentionally. They came in, they looked at the video footage with me, and they made some notes. And I call it great detective work. They looked at the guy, they picked out his body shape, his height, what they could tell of his complexion, even though it was nighttime, and the shoes and shorts he's wearing, and then looked around the area and picked the gentleman up within 15 minutes. Historically, people have always tended to go where their needs are immediately being met for services. So you got a grocery store, you got a supply store, you've got a technical store, and you've got shopping markets. The neat thing about the way that, and I don't think it's just Mobile that we're seeing this in now, this is a global thing, but markets are becoming micro markets. So in the same city block, you've got all of those stores, and then a block away, you've got all of those stores again, and you've got options. And I think as that continues to happen, people will be more affected by the resources environmentally of the region, such as fishing piers or art revenue centers or different types of attractions, tourist attractions that would draw you to that area than they will be for the market-driven purpose. And you'll remove kind of that stigma of people wanting to just stay compartmentalized to where they are, because ultimately they're not a destination anymore, any more so than the next city over. And then a younger generation also has a different taste. Our generation has a different taste in arts and entertainment. So having a movie theater is not a big deal anymore as much as where can I go and watch a symphony? Where can I go to an art gallery that's open? When you have a movement that allows the city to grow, it's a ripple effect. Everything improves with the growth of the epicenter of the commerce market.